the opening match, the steel cage match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes defeating Solo Sikoa. Man, you called the Cody Cutter as you see it there on your screen. Right there it is, man. He wasn't quite at the top, but daggum, he got pretty close. He didn't do the moonsault. He teased it, though, man. It was so funny to see him climb up there and be turned around backwards, and you saw the people go crazy because I think they thought moonsault too. But what a way to kick off the show.
Yeah, this was a fantastic match. I think this was a lot better than their SummerSlam match. And
I agree.
So I really enjoyed it. It was great. It's probably the best Solo has looked by himself. And so I really enjoyed it. And, you know, it's a great way to kick off the night with putting this title on the line. It kind of shocked. When we saw that it was going to kick off the show, me and you started texting immediately of like, if this is kicking off the show, something big is happening at the end.
Yep.
And they delivered on all fronts. So credit to them. It was a lot of fun. You never really know what you're going to get with the Bloodline. You never know what you're going to get with a steel cage match too. Yep. And we kind of got everything wrapped up into it. I popped when he hit the Cody Cutter. It was beautiful from basically from the top. He was almost at the top.
It was very close.
But it was a great way to kick off the show.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the ending of the show. Don't worry, we're not skipping over it. I'm just trying to piece these things together so that we can, because Andy, it's kind of funny that we're trying to avoid it, but what we have to realize is all of these things mean something in their own way. You know, yes, They are connected, but you got to give Triple H and the creative team their kudos because of how well they're setting these things up. As Sam Roberts likes to say, everything counts. So this Cody Solo match, yes, while we got some shenanigans at the end and we got a big return and it's leading to something else, the match in itself still counts. Because at the end of the match, Cody Rhodes pins Solo and he says, "That's it. I'm done."
Yeah.
And then he references that later, telling Nick Aldis, "I'm done with the Bloodline." So all of these things together mean something as a whole and as the parts. So like you said, man, I thought first match of the night, kicking off the USA era, what a way to do it. Steel cage match, your world heavyweight or your WWE champion, commercial free. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't. I think it did a lot for Solo, too, of making him feel bigger and, like, feel more important, especially for what happens at the end with Roman coming back.
Yep.
I think it plays into that really well, of something that finally Solo gets the big moment. He almost gets the pin. He almost gets the win. And then Cody fighting back to get it. So it was a fantastic way, probably the perfect way they could have kicked off the night.
Yep. I completely agree. And then, of course, it wouldn't be the Bloodline if we didn't get Bloodline shenanigans. Even though Cody wins the match, the rest of the Bloodline surround the cage. They all climb in. They beat up Cody Rhodes. And who comes to Cody's aid once again? He's back. Roman Reigns coming to Cody's aid. Not before we didn't see a beautiful moonsault, though, from Jacob Fatu on Cody. Roman comes back and cleans house, takes out the Bloodline, and then Andy, I think we all expected Roman to come back on the season premiere of SmackDown, but I think what everybody was excited for is what you see on your YouTube screen right now. It's the face-off between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. How awesome was that?
Oh, listen, the crowd was hyped for it. They were dying to see those two guys go at it, especially when Roman did the motions for him to enter the ring and Jacob slowly got in. The place just came unglued for it. So I'm very excited for that whenever that finally happens. I feel like this was the first time that they went face to face in the middle of the ring with nobody else around.
Yep.
And it got it feels like it got a bigger reaction than if Solo was there.
Sure.
Like they're teasing this perfectly. I love the fact that even Jacob was on the top of the cage. He was getting ready to go for the moonsault off the top of the cage onto Cody. Roman's music hit, and then he exited out of the cage. He didn't go into the cage to be locked in there with them. So I thought that was done really, really well. I don't know about you. I was very happy to see Tonga Loa get in without messing it up. So that's like a check mark for him. That's a win for him.
You know, I wondered about that. I was watching him to see what happened. It's really interesting, man, because I feel like we talked about Tonga Loa last week, and I'm still trying to figure out why he's so bad. I don't get it. I know there's a Marty Jannetty for every tag team, but Marty Jannetty was still a really good worker. But
That's true.
The point I'm trying to make is that Tonga Loa gets in these situations. I feel like his only move that he has when they get in these beatdown situations is a scoop slam. And to me, that does no good in a beatdown situation. Like, that's a wrestling move. Like that. If you go back and watch, every time that he physically gets involved in a beatdown, he picks a guy up and scoop slams him. Like, why?
Probably the safest thing for him to do. Like, it's probably the easiest and the safest way for him to handle somebody. And I'll say in this context, it made sense because it set up the Jacob Fatu moonsault. So that it made sense for that. But yeah, it's bad. it's really bad when he gets into the ring and gets involved. But yeah, I this whole segment was great. I thought, the bloodline felt really cool. One of the things I noticed was, and it kind of ties a lot of things together, is when Roman got into the ring and slammed the door shut.
Yep.
It was very Undertaker-like, man.
Yes.
I was just slamming the door shut and the place going crazy.
Yep.
It was just a really, really cool moment to see that.
Yeah, it was very cool. So after he enters the cage and we see the stare off between Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns, and then Roman gets blindsided from behind. And then, of course, it's after Solo drags Jacob out, so we don't ever get that. And then Roman gets blindsided, and then who comes to his aid but Cody Rhodes? So Tonga Loa gets a spear for his troubles. Tama Tonga gets a crossroads, and then this stare-off happens between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, and what you don't see here on your screen is right after this, Cody picks up the championship. Roman looks at the championship, and they stare off, and then we find out later that there's a little match that is challenged and all that. But before we get to the match, Andy, we finally get Roman and Cody on an even playing ground. We saw them stare at each other at SummerSlam. Well, now they're both standing up. And the place is shaking, man, because this has been the main event of the last two WrestleManias. And
right.
Here we are in September, and they're face-to-face. In this moment, what did you think was going to happen? As you're watching this in real time, it's like, do you want them to fight? Like, what do you want to see happen here?
I don't know what I wanted to see. All I know is it was cool to see them together, but I don't know if I want them to be together, if
Sure.
that makes sense.
Sure.
And so, it's kind of the story that they're going to tell. I do, though. I mean, not to pat myself on the back too much, but me and Katie were sitting there watching it, and when they made the save, I was like, "Watch this! They're going to announce a match for Bad Blood. And it's going to be the tag match." And she was like, "No, they're not going to put Roman and Cody together." So, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to feel about the possibility of them even teaming up. All I know is the moment those two guys are in the ring together, and we'll talk about it about the last segment later on.
Yeah.
But the moment those two guys are in the ring together, it just feels different, and it feels like in a good way. It feels like Austin Rock kind of standing in a ring together. It feels like Cena Randy standing in a ring together. It's just these two guys are destined to do this forever. But in what ways are they going to do it? So it's fascinating that they're telling this story this way.
Yeah, it really is. So, yeah, like Andy said, we're going to get to that in just a second. Before we get there, though, want to remind you, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. We are so close to 200 subscribers. We hope that you will help us get there. Again, 80% of you that are watching are not subscribed. Maybe you don't think you're subscribed, or maybe you don't realize you're not subscribed. Button's right down below the video. Just hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That way you get a notification. We would appreciate that very, very much. We're trying to grow this channel. We get lots of good comments from you guys. We appreciate that feedback as well. That helps the algorithm. Liking the video helps the algorithm. So we can't thank you guys enough for your support. The best way that you can do that is to subscribe to the YouTube channel.